Hi, this is Mark News from Plant Talk Radio. Thanks for subscribing and listening to our podcast, Your Gardening Questions from Plant Talk Radio. To keep this podcast free, we're partnering with Stokes Seeds. Pre-plan your indoor seed starting program today with the help of Stokes' 2018 Gardening Guide and their online articles. Whether you're adding texture through foliage, choosing a new variety for a splash of color, developing an existing garden, or starting from scratch, Stokes Seeds has some great catalog and online resources to help you through the process. More than just a listing of vegetable and flower seeds, the Stokes Seeds website is a complete resource center with valuable information on seed starting, planting, and harvesting, plus all the gardening accessories you need to make your garden the envy of the neighborhood. Get growing with Stokes. Now, today's question. You wanted to expand a little bit on this idea of amending the soil and getting some good soil. You had some folks do something a little bit different that turned out really nice for them.
We got together and designed a planting for their home for the home site, where the trees would go, which were taken care of somewhat early on, which I always advise. And then it came to the shapes of the beds that went around all four sides of the house, for all practical purposes. They were a young enough couple, both employed, and I think they could afford to buy the house. But I think when it came to then completing the landscaping, they were about out of nickels and dimes. So what we did, and it was the recommendation more to save them money, but it worked in a very fine way as far as soil prep. They planted vegetables for 2 years for sure, and maybe a third, using staked tomatoes for the tall plants on the corners and cabbages under the windowsills and, carrot tops for finer edging, all kinds of interesting innovations as far as gardens are concerned. Of course, it was only there from thaw time until freeze time. But at the same time, that soil having been prepared properly in the first place and then used for crops and worked each time they were going to plant crops from seed or what have you, they got into the darndest soil in terms of you could practically stick your arm in the ground, well, not your whole arm, but hand and up onto the wrist without a trowel. I mean, it was that loose and loamy. And when they planted plants, well, what I'll call regular landscape plants, they had to plant and run. They grew so fast. So it is just another step that Alan could take if he's that patient. But I know it did work quite nicely for this couple. And I think then by the time they bought landscape plants, they could buy slightly larger ones because they had recovered a bit from the initial cost of the house.
Thanks again for listening to the podcast. Remember, pre-plan your indoor seed starting program with the help of Stokes Gardening Guide and their online resources. And request your free catalog while you're online. For the best selection of vegetable, flower, and herb seeds available, go to stokesseeds.com. Cultivating successful growers for generations.